Cenk, at the beginning of yesterday's TYT episode, basically started out by explaining the core principles of TYT. So he started out with like a 15-minute long lecture about how TYT has always been right about everything, and therefore it's insane for anyone to challenge their progressive credentials. Do you want to take a look at what Cenk had to say, Zach? All right.
Before we do anything else today, I wanted to take a minute out to talk to you guys about what kind of show and network we are, because apparently that some people are questioning it. And so I have clear answers, and then people can make their decisions based on that, okay? So we've been doing this for 21 years, and the entire time we've been progressive and fighting very hard for progressive issues and done a lot of things. I'm not gonna get into our resume of all the great things that mainly our audience has done.
How Trumpian was that intro? How Trumpian was that intro? We've been doing this for 20 years. What have we been doing? We've been doing progressive things. We've been doing wonderful things. We've been doing all the great things, tremendous things, absolutely wonderful things. What things have we been doing? We've been doing so many things, too many things to mention. I can't get into all of them. That's how many we've done. Yeah, who does that sound like?
Because without them, we don't have any power. And those folks have done amazing things in the world, like launch Just Democrats, etc. So we're not going to pop out of a cake in a couple of days and go, ta-da, right-wing pivot. We laid a 21-year bear trap for you guys so that at the end we could do a right-wing pivot and then lose our entire audience.
Jenks, I'm not a crook.
People are like, oh, you guys are grifters. You are denying your audience what you want, what they want. Wait, how would that be a grift? You guys want to go from an incredibly successful progressive show that gets hundreds of millions of views every month to being right-wingers to get no views. If that was true, why would that be a grift? That's not a grift, that's just a disastrous decision. No, we're doing something radical on this network. And so I want you to understand it. We're allowing for discussion and debate and disagreements. Now, a lot of people don't want that.
Literally, that's not what you're doing, Cenk. Literally just not what's fucking happening. He's like, we're all about debate and discussion and disagreement here. Show me the fucking debate where you had on your critics, where you had on the people who politely pushed back on your and Anna's bullshit. Show me the debate where you had them on and politely discuss this, because I didn't fucking see that. I saw a lot of people trying to make that happen. I saw a bunch of people begging to make that happen. I saw a bunch of people that were fans of the Young Turks literally begging Cenk and Anna to just have on some folks, some trans people maybe, or some allies, to have a debate about this, and maybe have some of their talking points pushed back on a little bit in a productive way. They refused to do that. They were the ones that refused to do that. They were the ones that got disagreed with, and then they threw a hissy fit because of the criticism. They didn't foster any sort of productive discourse whatsoever. They just doubled down and, like I said, threw a fucking hissy fit as soon as people called them out.
Yep. It's honestly very also, not to just keep making parallels, this dude actually originated from the TYT network. It's very similar to the Dave Rubin. Oh, we're just trying to talk about ideas. Oh, it's just our ideas, man. Like we just want to talk about ideas, but then they only talk about like a very narrow, like very bad set of ideas.
Yep. And also this whole notion of like, oh, what, you think next week we're just going to pop out of the cake and all of a sudden be right-wing Trump supporters? Like, no one thinks that, Cenk. The thing is with the right-wing grift is that it always happens slowly. It always happens piece by piece. Usually what starts the evolution or the process is someone who's traditionally been associated with the left, like Dave Rubin, for example, or, pick your favorite right-wing grifter who started out on the left. Usually they'll pretend to be a progressive for a long time, but then they'll identify one or two issues where they see and point out that, oh, I've found an issue where I disagree with the left on. Maybe it's censorship, maybe it's trans stuff, maybe it's crime. And they'll take this one issue that they found to have a divergence with the left on, and they'll talk about it ad nauseum. They'll hammer it home over and over and over again about how, because of the fact that they find themselves in a slightly different place than the mainstream progressive left on one or two issues, they use that as a fucking excuse to start slowly but surely rebranding entirely until the point that they are just right wingers. But it never happens within a week or a month, unless you're like Jackson Hinkle and you decide to just completely speed run the right wing grift, which has happened. But usually when it happens in a more sophisticated way, like I said, with a guy like Dave Rubin, it usually takes a couple years, and it usually starts, as I mentioned, by identifying one or two issues where you find a divergence with the mainstream progressive left, and then start talking about that ad nauseum until you just find yourself agreeing with the conservatives. We see that on TYT with the trans issue and the crime issue. But like I said, no one's saying that in a week TYT is going to start endorsing Donald Trump. That's not how this works. It's gonna be a lot more sophisticated than that.
Yeah, and I think that Brian makes the exact same point that you were making, Gavin. He says Cenk spent years complaining about money in politics. Basically, it was one of the fundamental complaints, grievances of the Democratic Party from Cenk for a long time. And then he ended up backing a right-wing billionaire due to his hatred of homeless people in LA. And this is how it happens. It's the endorsement of Rick Caruso. It's the prioritization of talking about how crime is so bad in LA. It's the prioritization of talking about like, oh, well, women in sports, and oh, on this one form it says birthing person, right? All of those things kind of make way for people to accurately call you out and say that, people in the chat have been calling it like boiling the toad slowly over time.
Yep, and that's 100% correct, Brian. It's hilarious how Cenk and Ana's opposition to big money and the corrupting influences that it represented. It's hilarious how that analysis ended as soon as the big corporate money was being transferred into their bank account. All of a sudden, that analysis ended, and I guess they decided that they were immune to corruption.
Like Karen Bass isn't like a fucking progressive bastion, like a bastion of progressive politics or whatever, but it was like clearly she was like very, 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 very much more aligned with the politics that they'd spent those decades espousing. And then just go with Rick Caruso because you hate fucking homeless people. Are you kidding me? And you know.
Yep. And Anna's been liking a bunch of Rick Caruso tweets and stuff. She 100% voted for Caruso too. Cenk was the only one that had the balls to say it on air and make public the fact that he was endorsing and voting for Rick Caruso. But Ana didn't even have the balls to talk about it on TYT, which I thought was pretty cowardly as well, and just shows that she's more right wing than she's even letting on. If you're voting for Rick Caruso, I'm sorry, but you're not on the fucking left. You're not a progressive.
Absolutely not.
Like tons of right-wingers go, no, I don't want any of that. I just want Fox News or Newsmax or Tucker Carlson or whoever it is. I just want him to say the things that I want to hear. And in fact, Fox News got in trouble with them in the Dominion lawsuit because you see the internal emails. Let's not tell people things that are true. Let's just tell the audience what they want to hear. Now, I was proud that the left wing didn't do that for a long, long time. We are open-minded, we're reasonable, we have conversations. But unfortunately, at this point, there are some forces that say no. There should be no discussion. There is a correct opinion. And everyone should be forced to have that correct opinion, or there should be canceled or fired, or no one should watch them, or all these other consequences that flow from that. Well, God bless, there's really good news because there's tons of leftist shows now that never disagree with a preset so-called leftist ideology. They agree with 100% of the issues, 100% of the time, and they almost all do it, right? You sure they're honest with you that they agree with whatever is the trend of the day 100% of the time? By the way, they could prove me wrong. They say, oh yeah, I don't agree with the left on this. This
is identical to the argument that Destiny makes when he calls out Hassan Piker, which I just think is hilarious. And it just kind of lets you know where Cenk is coming from, right? Like when they don't have an argument, people who are wanting to identify as progressives, but they just don't agree with whatever the progressive position is on a matter. They have to figure out why. And oftentimes what they do is they just kind of blame everybody as being like, just going with the flow. Like, you're woke, bro. Like, this is the new thing. Like, this is what everybody says you have to believe. So you're just going to go for it. And it's like, not really, dude. All of our views, I feel like, are fairly laid out. They're very consistent, right? Like I don't believe in exploitation of the workforce. I don't believe in the pursuit of profit over people. I don't believe that you should discriminate against people because of their identity. And I think that you should let people live. And I don't think that you should regulate what medication that they receive if it's been decided by their doctor that that's what's best for them. Or if they're a minor, their parent and their doctors. How about that? That seems pretty consistent to me. I'm wondering why that's so outlandish. I'm also wondering why, now that the right wing is constantly fear-mongering about trans people, you care about trans athletes competing in sports, which has been going on for years and years and years now. But it wasn't a media sensationalized topic then because it was a very small subset of the national population. Trans people already make up a small population, and then you have the trans people that want to play sports, and then you have the trans people that fucking work their whole fucking lives and try and make it to the Olympics. Okay, it's a very small pool. The people that make it to the Olympics already a very small pool. Now you're making it even smaller because the population of trans people. You understand how math works. I don't have to explain this to you guys. So what I'm saying is that it's a little bit perplexing. It's peculiar timing, to start beating your fucking head about this against, or beating this drum all the time, fear mongering about that, and then homelessness again. I thought you had a good understanding of how economics in this country work, Cenk. The fucking wealth inequality that you harangued about for fucking years is what's causing the homelessness, and it's what's causing the crime. And guess what cops do not do? They do not alleviate any of those things. You know who else doesn't alleviate any of those things? Billionaire right-wing real estate tycoons like Rick Caruso, who are going to make rents even more expensive and even more unaffordable in one of the most unaffordable cities in the world, Cenk. Okay? Unaffordable cities in the world. Okay, I think the minimum wage in California is like $15 an hour, which means you'd have to work like 150 fucking jobs to make rent anywhere. And that's if you don't have kids and your entire job is just to take care of yourself. Think about that. Think about how people have had the opportunity to grow up, get married, have children, and live in a nice house if they grew up in California. That's been taken from them. That's almost impossible to do, right? Of course, that's going to lead to desperation. People are trying to live. They're trying to scrape by. They're trying to make it happen for themselves. And am I justifying the poor actions that sometimes result from these circumstances? No. But if we ever want to resolve this as a systemic issue, as a coast-to-coast problem in every major metropolis where people can't afford to fucking live, then we have to look at the root causes, right? You have to look at the cause, not the symptoms. Okay, the symptoms are that there are homeless people that Cenk doesn't like. What's the cause? That people can't afford to fucking live because of wealth concentration. We need to redistribute the wealth. We need to tax the rich. We need to provide people with adequate mental health treatment and health care. Remember when you used to beat your drum about that, Cenk, instead of trans people? Okay, do you see how there are a lot of really consistent things that, the left is just so fucking caught up in whatever the fucking trend of the day is? No, it's not. I've had a very consistent set of values. We got people in our chat. I think Hammock Lady is like, 60, probably fucking, or Susie Stone, I think, said that she was like 60. You know what I'm talking about? You guys in our chat, you've been keeping the same message for decades. Was Cenk excluded from all those phone calls when you guys were, getting the trending topic of the day from the international cabal of leftists when we decided what was going to trigger us? I missed it too. So anyway.
This and see, nobody cancels me, everybody's fine. Now they're gonna do try benign things like, oh yeah, well, I like orange more than I like yellow. No. Give me real disagreements. You're not gonna do it, are you? Because you're worried. Well, we are gonna do it on this network. So we do.
I disagree with the fact that you took $24 million in corporate cash. How about that, Cenk?
Things like, hey, I do something that is almost unheard of in media. I hire people who disagree with me. And so some have disagreed.
And then fucking fire them as soon as they push back on you. Or not fire them, but force them to have to leave due to a toxic work climate.
On the right, some have disagreed on the left. And then they have come out and not only disagree with me massively on our air, and I'm totally okay with it. Totally okay with it. And then they will sometimes go over the edge and say vicious and crazy things, and we're still okay with it. And then and you guys know recently someone who we liked and really supported, etc., decided to call me an evil person, a racist, a transphobe, pathetic, embarrassing, all these terrible, terrible, terrible things. And then they quit. And after they quit, they say, I quit because this guy who runs the company won't agree with me. But sister, I platformed you. I said, here's a platform, go for it. And not only can you say anything you want, you can say something that totally and utterly disagrees with me. Not good enough. Is that a standard? And
also, just to defend Benny's decision to leave here. Benny's decision was not, I heard something Cenk say that I disagreed with, therefore can't work for that guy. I only work for someone who agrees with 100% of my positions 100% of the time. Obviously, that's a complete straw man. That's not why Benny quit. And it wasn't just one thing that you said that was a disagreement. It's been your and Anna's entire attitude towards the trans community and towards the trans activist community over the last 6 months to a year, calling trans activists idiots, blaming the failures of Democratic politicians on trans activist positions, saying that, oh, Ilhan Omar almost lost her congressional seat because of these darn trans people and because of defund the police. Again, you are literally blaming the failures of Democratic politicians on powerless activist communities and then calling them idiots in the next breath. It's a matter of a whole attitude, clearly. It's not one thing you said. It's not one position you took that Benny disagreed with. It's about the culture and the attitude that you and Anna have been taking and the way you respond when people call you out or criticize you or even just politely push back. I think that's the problem. And like I said, it's just a total fucking straw man to say that Benny quit because she had one single disagreement with you and because she just wanted to work for someone that she didn't disagree with on anything at all. That's stupid.
They agree with just one of the hosts? Well, if that's the standard and two hosts disagree, what am I gonna do? I'm for, apparently the new standard is everyone must agree. So who do I fire? Which of the two hosts that disagree do I fire? Do I go to Twitter and ask the left-wing activists or the ones pretending to be activists for our side? Okay, guys, you see, apparently no one voted, but apparently you guys are the
arbiter. You want to call me and pick my brain? I got some ideas on your staffing
of what's on the left, despite the fact that the polling shows that you are not. You're often very, very, very wrong. I'll give you the classic example, Latinx. I was told 100 times, oh, you are being against it, you're going against the Latino community. Like, I don't think so. I've never seen a Latino.
Yeah. Also, the difference between that is that the Latina/Latino community does not like the term Latinx. They've pretty much unanimously said, "Hey, we don't want to be called Latinx. This was a term invented by white people. Stop using it." The trans community, on the other hand, is not taking that position as it relates to the inclusive language that has been discussed on TYT. So it's just a terrible example. It's not analogous whatsoever.
Latino person called themselves Latinx. I think you made that up. They're like, how dare you, right? And it turns out we did a poll, or we didn't do it, somebody did. 96% of Latinos don't want to be called Latinx. Did anyone learn from that? That maybe randos online don't actually know what they're talking about?
This is embarrassing.
That they don't actually speak for that community? But even if they did, or we were wrong, etc., the most important thing is, will we have disagreement and will that be allowed? And the answer definitively on the Young Turks is yes.
And apparently fucking not, because again, tons of people, including Benny, offered to have a discussion about this live on air many times. Before you got criticized, people were just trying to debate you. Then you turned around, threw a hissy fit, and acted like you were the victim of cancel culture, and that's when people really started roasting you. But don't pretend like your critics aren't willing to debate. Don't pretend like your critics don't want to also foster a productive discourse, because that's all anyone was trying to do from the very beginning.
And if you don't like that, like I said, there's a billion options, right wing, left wing, and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. But if you want to have a real conversation, an honest conversation, there's one place in media. And by the way, it doesn't matter if people yell at me. I've been through it 100 times. Everyone here knows we've been through it 100 times, right? And every time, oh, Jimmy Dore is right. Oh, Sam Harris is right. And then later, oops, yeah, they're totally wrong. Oh, Tulsi Gabbard is, oops, Young Turks were right again. Oops. But do they learn any?
Known woke activists, Jimmy Dore, Tulsi Gabbard, and Sam Harris. Oh, those were the people that were so outwoking you? No, you're inconsistent over here, old janky.
Anything from that? No. And do I change how we conduct things because of the pressure? No. I do not give in to the pressure, but I also do not go in the other direction. Oh, you hurt my feelings. So from now on, I'm going to be against gay rights or trans rights. No, we will not do that under any circumstance. No, I'm still gonna support trans community. I'm still gonna support gay rights 100%. I'm gonna support both those communities 100%. And as you'll see, likely be the toughest and strongest fighter for them. I don't care if some trans people or anyone in any leftist community yells at me. You think I'm gonna like betray Latinos because somebody's telling me that I'm against Latinos because I said I don't believe that Latinx is the proper term? I'm never gonna do that. No, I'm gonna fight for Latinos. I'm gonna fight for African Americans. I'm gonna fight for all of these communities. And you might have seen online, oh, here's a tweet there. Here's a video, like a 5-second clip or a 12-second clip over there. Okay, oh my God, oh, I hear they're right wingers now, okay? And then you know what happens when people come watch the show? They're like, wait, I don't get it. They don't look anything like what I heard. They sound really progressive. My God, they seem like they're really fighting for us. You know why? Because we've been doing it for 21 years. Okay, and that's exactly what we are, and we're not gonna change it. So look, the last things I'll say is that we have given a number of folks from all the different communities a platform here when no one else did. And so we hired a number of trans hosts. I don't see a lot of other left-wing shows hiring tons of trans hosts. So, okay, good, God bless. And then we have a disagreement.
It's like, we're the most tolerant network out there. While I was still denying the Armenian genocide, we hired an Armenian co-host. What more do you want?
And then did I kick them out? No, I said, okay, continue to have a disagreement. And they said, no, because not everyone at the company agrees with me. You guys are transphobes, racist, etc. And how dare you disagree? That's it, we're out. And if you're in that camp and you say, hey, 5% disagreement, too much. I can't handle it. I need something else. Again, all the power in the world to you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying to you guys, oh, please stay. And I'm not saying, go, I don't care. And are there people with good intent in our audience who believe in these issues and disagree with me fervently out of good intent? Absolutely. And brothers, I'm not telling you to go or stay. If you're comfortable with disagreement, but we want to get to the same place, great.
Bro, Cenk, you were the one who was disagreed with. Cenk and Ana keep talking about how everyone else is so sensitive to disagreement and how TYT is the only channel left that can foster healthy, productive disagreement and debate. Bro, you guys were the ones who were disagreed with, and you guys were the ones who handled it in the worst, pettiest, and most unhinged way possible. Like, that's what I can't get over about all this, is that they were the ones who were disagreed with. They said something controversial, they had a hot take, and then people pushed back on them. And now they're melting down and acting like they're the victims of the fucking woke cancel culture mob or whatever. But in reality, they're the ones that got disagreed with, and now they're lecturing everyone else about how to handle disagreement. It's genuinely insane.
Yeah, and Ole points out completely right. The level of gaslighting is insane. Taking literally, he was like, oh, we hired all these trans people. We hired. Who else in left media is hiring all these trans people? And it's like, bro, they quit. They don't want to work for you. That's the kind of environment that you're creating. Ole, how the fuck are you fighting for a community by fighting against what those communities are telling you their interests are all the time? Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like any other instance in politics where they want to completely sanitize the message. They want to corporatize it. They want to make it so that it fits their narrative, but it still has the veneer of progressivism without any teeth to it. And that's exactly what it feels like is happening over here. And yeah, the audacity to just gaslight everybody into feeling like they're like, we're the real trans activists. Unlike any of these actual trans people, we know what's best for them, right? It's just like, dude, you are never starting a winning argument by being like, yeah, these people that are, victimized and marginalized by basically every mechanism of society, they don't know what's good for them. I know what's good for them. These people that I don't know and who generally don't want to be around me. Yeah, you're the fucking expert then, huh? No. It's maddening. It's fucking maddening. But shout out to Ole for getting on our chat, our number one fan. And honestly, if there was one person on this earth that I am proud to call a Vanguard fan, Ole's got it number one locked up. And also, I cited you as a lawyer earlier in this stream, so it's fate that that you came on. Somebody was like, "Oh, Zach's a lawyer." I was like, "No, but I am followed on Twitter by lawyers. So better step off." Okay.